Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. So today I'm going to teach you how to make the main star of the menu, which is a za'atar and yogurt roasted chicken. This is menu 2 of our holiday entertaining series, getting you ready to host Thanksgiving effortlessly. If you've already missed menu 1, which was from last week, go on over to the website dimitrasdishes.com and download that ebook. It will be in the description box down below, along with that whole playlist full of delicious recipes. All of these recipes in the ebooks are going to include the starter, the appetizer, the main, and the dessert. They're going to be loaded with tips and tricks, so you do not want to miss those recipes, so that way you can host Thanksgiving if you're doing it for the first time, or you're going to learn how to do it right this time. Entertaining will be so easy as long as you follow the simple tips and tricks in those books and on these videos. Let's get started with today's recipe. So I'm going to use Middle Eastern type spices like Za'atar and Sumac, which are so zesty and delicious and flavorful that are going to make for an amazing turkey. There's going to be so much flavor in this turkey because these spices are super duper flavorful. Sumac is a berry that's really tangy in flavor. The za'atar is also loaded with tangy, zesty flavors like thyme and oregano, and sumac also. It's so good. You can find these spices in your local Middle Eastern or Mediterranean grocery store. If I find the link on Amazon, I will be sure to link it down below. So this turkey tastes best if you marinate it one day before or one night before. So this is what we're going to do today. Today we're going to marinate it. So we're just going to go over the marinade ingredients so that way we can marinate this, and then tomorrow we're going to put the whole thing together and bake it in the oven. Let's go over those ingredients and then we're going to start. We have some freshly squeezed orange juice here, some Greek yogurt, and try to get the fullest fat yogurt that you can find. This is 5%. We have some crushed red pepper flakes, grated garlic, lots of grated garlic cloves. As a matter of fact, I have 10 right here. And then the spices. We have paprika. This is sweet paprika, but you can use smoked if you like. It's just going to really leave a smoked flavor, and I prefer the sweet one. I have sumac, salt, ground cumin powder, and then this is the za'atar. And then I have some lemon juice over here. And of course, the star of this recipe is a turkey. This is a 12-pound turkey. I have the whole thing here. So once you get your turkey home from your butcher or from your supermarket, take it out of its packaging, wash it, pat it very well dry with paper towels, and then make sure to look inside of the cavity because most likely you're going to find at least the neck in there, and then you also might find the giblets or giblets, maybe they're called. But this time they're not in the cavity. They're right here by the neck. You're just going to have to lift the flap and pull the little package out. Now you can discard it if you don't use it, but it makes for a delicious gravy. So before we start making the marinade, I'm going to create a little pocket in here because a lot of the marinade is going to go underneath the skin, and you can create the pocket with your fingers or using a rubber spatula. Try not to tear the skin. Do this on both sides. Now I have a big mixing bowl here with the lemon juice already in here. To that, I'm going to add the freshly squeezed orange juice. I love the combination of sweet and tangy in turkey recipes. It just tastes really, really good. I'm also going to put a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes because I like heat. Leave it out if you don't like them, if you don't like the heat or the spice. Then I'm going to go ahead and mix all of these spices together, and I'm going to add them to the lemon juice and the orange juice, along with all of this garlic, and just whisk everything all together. Now I am using yogurt because I love the flavor that yogurt leaves. It almost turns into cheese under the skin when it bakes. I like that texture, and I do like the flavor. If you're not a fan and you don't like yogurt, you can totally substitute olive oil for this. Not 4 cups of olive oil, but just put a little bit more olive oil in this and just spread this all over the turkey and then bake it the next day. You will thank me later. But if you want to try this out at a smaller scale before you serve it for Thanksgiving, just reduce all these ingredients enough for a chicken. Test it out on the chicken, and if you like it, then go ahead and roast your whole turkey for on Thanksgiving Day. Now I'm going to add the yogurt, and I'm just going to whisk this all together. Last ingredient going in, which I forgot all about, is a little bit of olive oil, about 1/4 cup to thin it out a little bit. This marinade would be amazing on chicken drumsticks, thighs, on a whole chicken roasted. If you want me to teach you how to make that, you're not sure of the quantities and things like that, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will do those recipes as soon as I can. And I'm also gonna thin this out with a little bit of water, about a quarter cup of water. Looks like a little bit more, maybe about 5-6 ounces of water. So this is the consistency that you are looking for. Now we're gonna rub this all over the turkey. So I'm gonna bring my pan in front of me, and I'm just gonna use my hands to do this. You can use a spatula or a spoon or an ice cream scoop. And I'm just gonna fill as much as I can underneath the skin. Look, if you guys are squeamish about this and you don't like to use your hands in the food that you're cooking, go ahead and put on some gloves. Do not fight with me in the comments about that. Go ahead and press that in. And the rest of this marinade is gonna go all over the turkey. We're just gonna pour it on. We're gonna put it inside the cavity. We want flavor. And whatever drips down in the bottom is just gonna make the most amazing gravy. So the turkey is marinated. I'm just gonna wrap this in plastic wrap and refrigerate it overnight in the refrigerator, and I'm gonna take it out in the morning, let it sit at room temperature for about 1 or 2 hours, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. So yesterday we marinated the turkey with the yogurt mixture and the za'atar and all those delicious spices. Today I took it out of the refrigerator an hour and a half ago. You wanna make sure you take it out at least an hour, hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours, so it can stand at room temperature, and that way it warms up a little bit, because you don't ever wanna put cold meat in a hot oven or a hot grill or anything hot for that matter. It seizes up and it becomes really hard and dry. Now, that said, let me just tell you a little bit about za'atar, because you might have not heard of it before. So za'atar is really not a traditional Greek spice. I was introduced to it by my good friend Nadia, who is Lebanese. She's from Lebanon, and she introduced me to this spice. She just used to bring it all the time when we used to work together, and she used to tell me that it's really good sprinkled on yogurt, on hummus, as a marinade over chicken. So I thought, why not create a flavorful turkey, a Thanksgiving turkey that is not traditional, something completely different that anybody has ever had. That's how this recipe came about. If you cannot find it in your Middle Eastern or Mediterranean grocery stores, I will include a recipe of how to put this together by yourself at home in the ebook that's going to have all these recipes in it. It's very simple, actually. It's just a few ingredients. It's just basically thyme, sometimes oregano, sumac, sesame seeds. Basically, that's it. And 1 or 2 other things depending on the country that it's from. You definitely don't want to leave it out. It's delicious. Let's move on now to putting this whole thing together and popping it in the oven. So make sure you remove the plastic, of course. Now, what I didn't do yesterday, what I didn't tell you yesterday is, I don't know why, I marinated the turkey right onto the roasting rack, and that is wrong. Do not do that. Make sure you marinate it in the same roasting pan that you're going to be cooking it in, because you want the whole thing. So the top is going to be marinated, and it's going to have the marinade on it. As the turkey sits in the pan overnight, all of that marinade that sits at the bottom is going to also permeate through the chicken, the bottom part of the turkey. I keep saying chicken, but a turkey is really like a large chicken anyway, so no worries. So I'm just going to transfer the turkey now onto the roasting rack. You never want to roast a turkey directly in the bottom of the pan where all the juices are going to be, because it's not going to roast evenly and the bottom is going to get really soggy. So that's why we have a roasting pan and a roasting rack, I should say, and it usually comes with your roasting pan. If not, you can use like a cookie sheet that fits on top of here, a cookie rack, like a drying rack. So go ahead and put an onion that's quartered inside the bottom of the pan, along with the turkey neck and the giblets or giblets, however you pronounce them, with 3 carrots and 3 celery ribs. I'm also gonna put 2 cups of chicken broth in here. And I'm gonna put this baby back in here inside the rack so it's elevated and not touching the bottom. Only thing left now is to tie the legs together so that way everything cooks evenly. Do this with a little bit of butcher's twine. Nothing fancy. You don't have to get fancy with this. You don't have to get technical. As long as the legs stay together, you're good to go. I'm gonna cut off that excess string. And before you tie the legs, when you do this at home, go ahead and put a teaspoon of sumac in the cavity. Of course, you can do this while the legs are tied too. I just did. And 4 cloves of garlic. The last step is to brush some melted butter. Now I like to use salted butter for this because it has a lot of flavor in it. If you prefer to salt your own butter, that's fine too. This is a stick of butter, and then you can just put like a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in that. That should do it. Brush it on, and then whatever's left, go ahead and pour it all over there. All of the butter will drip down to the bottom, and then later, when we're gonna go ahead and baste the turkey, it's going to just make it brown beautifully. Now I have a large piece of parchment paper here and a piece of foil. I'm going to first cover my turkey with, tent the turkey with some parchment. And crumbling it is a trick that I learned from my aunt that just helps the parchment paper stay in place. And then on top of that, some foil. The oven is preheated to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to roast this about an hour and a half covered. Then I'm going to take it out. I'm going to insert an oven-safe meat thermometer in there. This is a must when you're making turkey or chicken if you want to cook it perfectly and not make it get dry or undercooked or anything like that. After an hour and a half, I'm going to take it out, uncover the foil and the parchment, put the meat thermometer into the thigh bone, and then I'm going to return it to the oven and let it cook for about an hour and a half to 2 hours more, depending. Once the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit, that's when you're going to know that the turkey is ready. Take it out so it does not cook further. 165 is the magic number, then it will be perfectly cooked. But before that, once you uncover it and it's back in the oven, baste it every 20 minutes. So with a baster, let me find a baster and show you what it looks like. So this is a baster. These are basically your Thanksgiving essentials. If you don't have anything else, you should have these two things. It makes it much safer when you're going in to grab that liquid and baste the turkey so it browns beautifully. A meat thermometer that's oven safe, and a baster, very inexpensive and worth every penny. So I'm going to pop this in the oven and I will show you what it looks like as soon as it comes out. Before I do that, I also have to say one more thing. Basically, the rule of thumb is for turkey is 20 minutes for every pound. So this is 12 pounds. It's going to take about 4 hours. So my turkey just came out of the oven. It baked covered for an hour and a half. Then I uncovered it, put it back in the oven, and let it bake for another hour and a half until it reached 165 degrees Fahrenheit. I did baste it every 20 minutes so that way it browns evenly all around and it looks beautiful. Once it comes out of the oven, take the rack carefully out and put it on a baking sheet or something while the turkey is in it, because it needs to rest for a good 25 minutes. If you were to cut right into it once it comes out of the oven, all the juices are going to run out and all that work is going to go down the drain. It's going to be totally dry. You want those juices to stay in the meat so it's nice and so it's perfect. It tastes good. Then you're going to want to go ahead and strain all the pan juices out. Take out the carrot and all the vegetables, the neck and the rest of the turkey parts, and you could save them on the side and eat them later. And then another thing that's important to have, it's sort of like an essential. You can get away with not having one, but I like to have it. It is a gravy separator. This gravy separator, I love it because all of the grease and the fat rises to the top and all of the flavor and the pan drippings are at the bottom. Now you can use that same oil and butter and all that grease and fat that rises to the top to create the gravy, or you can just use butter. We're going to go ahead and make the gravy now. So this is the gravy that I make over and over again every year. The only addition is going to be the capers, and the flavor from that yogurt and that za'atar and that sumac is going to infiltrate the gravy and it's going to taste so good. So I'm going to start with a few tablespoons of butter, but like I said, you can just gather all the fat that rises to the top and use that instead of the butter. So we're going to cook the flour for a few minutes with the butter until it's nice and toasted. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of broth, just a little bit because we're going to use those pan juices and the pan drippings, and we're just going to mix this until it's nice and smooth. Now my little gravy separator is small, so I have to do this in a few batches, but I'm going to continue to add the pan drippings while this cooks and thickens. So all the liquids are in. I'm going to season it with a little bit of black pepper, and I'm also going to throw in a few capers and some lemon juice. Now the lemon juice is optional, but it does give it another level of flavor, another layer of flavor, and it just wakes it up and makes it even tastier. So you can do anywhere between 2 and 4 tablespoons depending on how lemony you like it. You could always taste as you go. And I am going to go ahead and taste it right now before it thickens to see if it needs a little salt, which I highly doubt. Oh my God, there is so much flavor in that. Doesn't need any salt, as I suspected. I'm going to let this cook over medium heat until it thickens, and then I'll show you what it looks like. The second that it starts to boil, take it off of the heat because it is going to continue to thicken. And you do not want it to get too thick because you are going to leave this simmering on the stove at the lowest heat until it's time to bring it to the table, because nobody likes cold gravy. Trust me. Let it simmer, and if it does start to get a little bit thicker, make sure you have some extra chicken stock ready and just keep adding to it so it could stay at the consistency that you like it to be. Always make extra gravy, because one trick that I have that I love that keeps the chicken very juicy, if you do not want to carve your turkey in front of your guests and you want to do it ahead of time, Make sure that you do this in a pan. So the same roasting pan that you roasted the turkey in, put a little bit of gravy in it, and then put all of the turkey pieces on there. Put also a little bit of gravy on top of that if you want. If you don't want to do that, if you want to keep it looking really nice and clean, then skip the top and just leave the gravy on the bottom. Cover it tightly with foil, and then right before you serve it, warm it for about 10 minutes or so in a preheated oven, like about 325 degrees, just until it gets nice and hot, and then transfer it to a serving dish and bring it to the table. Trust me, your guests are gonna love it, and it's gonna be super duper flavorful. Now, let me unveil the turkey and let's see what it looks like. So before you serve your turkey, you're gonna want to make sure that you cut the little string off. Now, it's up to you how you want to serve it. Like I said, it does make for a really beautiful presentation to put the whole turkey on a platter and decorate it with some cranberries or fresh fruit or lemon slices, some rosemary. It looks really pretty. But if you're trying to host a stress-free party, the last thing you want to do is carve it and just make a mess in front of your guests, have juices all over the place. I like to carve the turkey ahead of time. I'm going to post a link up in the card section to a really good turkey carving video, so that way you can watch that. If you want me to show you how to do it, let me know in the comment section and I will make a video on that. Put this at the table with the gravy, with all the sides, and you're gonna be so happy that you did. I'm gonna pinch at it. I'm gonna take a little piece just to taste it. I'll take this piece right here. Do you see how there's like a layer of flavor under that skin? See how juicy it is and perfect and moist? Turkey breast is usually very dry. This is juicy. The yogurt that cooked underneath the skin has almost a cheesy kind of a consistency. Very creamy. The za'atar is there and it's very bold and flavorful. The written recipe with all the exact measurements is on my website, on the ebook, dimitrosdishes.com, holiday menu number 2. Go over there and download it, and make sure that you guys have already hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming recipes. The next recipe, which we're sharing tomorrow, is a dessert that's gonna go with this menu. That is an apple Greek custard pie and apple galaktopourako. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I will see you all next time. Yes,